So today we're going to be working with a product called Liquid Light. It's a photographic emulsion that you can put on just about anything: wood, glass, an egg, anything you wanted. And it kind of acts as the photographic paper. So you would put your negative in an enlarger, have your liquid light coated substrate, and you would develop a photo onto that. It's a pretty cool product. The same company, Rockland, also makes a product called AG Plus, which is similar. It's a photographic emulsion, but it's more of a film type photographic emulsion versus this being more of a paper photographic emulsion. They were out of the AG Plus, so I bought the Liquid Light, and we're going to do some tests. Actually going to coat some glass plates. And I'm going to shoot this in my Fulmer and Schwing studio camera. It's a 4x5. It's a very old camera, probably turn of the century. This is one of the holders for the glass plates. I assume this was probably for a wet plate. We're going to be doing more of a dry plate. Pretty cool camera. It's vintage, probably early 1900s, possibly even late 1800s. So it's been around a while. So I'm going to start by coating these plates, these glass negatives, if you want to call them that, with a Minwax polyurethane, and that's to give the photo emulsion something to bite onto, something to hang onto, something to grip to the glass. So I'm using a clear gloss polyurethane. I'm going to put one coat on here and let them dry. And after that, we'll be coating with the Liquid Light. After that, there'll be a few more steps, and we're going to try and take some photos with this and see what we can do. So stay tuned. So what we have here is just a standard hardware store glass, and I bought it at the hardware store 2 doors down from my studio here. About 6 pieces. They charged me $2 for 6 pieces to cut into 4x5 blanks. They used scraps that they were happy to get rid of and get something out of, so it worked out well for both of us. I don't have a lot of money invested. I have $7 into polyurethane and only $2 in my glass. About $30 for the Liquid Light. So this was by far the cheapest part. So basically what I did is I washed the glass real good, hot soapy water, got it really clean, got it really dry, and then I'm just taking a sponge brush and I'm applying one thin coat of clear gloss polyurethane, which will give the Liquid Light something good to bite into and to adhere to on the glass. Yet it will be completely clear, so it shouldn't affect the exposure or anything in any way. I'm really looking forward to this experiment and seeing what we end up with. I do have a couple other cameras that we could certainly make some really cool large glass plates out of. Kind of ultra large format type things that film is either non-existent or extremely expensive. So if I can make some glass plates and make it work, we'll be in business. So there we go. We just coated all 6 of them. We give them about 3 hours to dry here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to put the Liquid Light on them. We'll do that under red light, safe light, and we should be good to go. So with most things in life, I have figured out that there is a bit of a learning curve to doing this correctly, and I'm probably still not 100% proficient. But what I found is that if I take the Liquid Light and I pour it onto the glass negative, and I'm using a dowel rod, it's actually the handle from a sponge paintbrush, and I use that and I can drag it across and get a nice even coating on the entire thing. It seems to work best. They recommend using your finger. Maybe my fingers are too fat, but I could not get a decent coating, so I'm going to do this. Pour a little bit on there. I've also found that it helps to warm up the glass to the same temperature as the Liquid Light. I'm down here in my dark room, and it is a little chilly down here, so that seems to help. So it's not real pretty, but it is a uniform coating. Put that in there. And I've got one more to coat here. And we'll see how the first batch goes, and we'll give it a shot, and we'll take some photos with this. That's what I'm really looking forward to. Alright, and that is probably the best one, as you would figure. The sixth plate turned out the best. So we're going to let those dry in the dark here, cure, and then we're going to take some photos. So we got our plates all coated. They're in a drying closet right now. Drying in the dark, should be ready to shoot for tomorrow. I want to take a quick second to show you the camera we're going to be shooting those in. This is a turn of the century, 1800 to 1900, turn of the century. Fulmer and Schwing. It's actually a copy or a studio camera. I'm going to mount this on a tripod, and we're going to take some pictures with it using those glass plates. I'm using a 19-inch Degar lens. It's an f11. This lens will cover up to 11 by 14. It's going to be a really high magnification, almost a telescopic image with this big lens on a 4x5. No shutter. This is a process lens with no shutter involved. This is going to be our shutter. Just happens to be a lid off of a spray paint can. Fits on there perfectly. So we'll be using that as a shutter because we have a pretty long exposure time with the liquid light. Take a look at this camera. I've done some work to it. I have some pinholes in the bellows that I fixed up. It was missing a back. So I actually fabricated this back here. It's a pretty impressive piece, I might say. Several pieces of plywood, some glue, some nails, a little bit of machining work, some spray paint, some foam or felt backing, and it's pretty slick. So I'll mount that into the camera here, and then this is the actual ground glass that comes out. So you're going to put this in here. Lock it in place. You're going to compose your image. You're going to focus here. Once that is done, you have the glass plate holder right here. You're going to mount the glass plate in there. Put it in here. You're going to put this piece of cardboard against the back of it. Close it. That's going to slide in the place of the glass plate holder. And then, pull the dark slide. We're going to start countdown, probably with a stopwatch. Exposure, expose whatever it is we're taking a picture of, close our dark slide, take this back to the dark room, and we're going to develop a pretty slick little negative on some glass plates. I'm really looking forward to this tomorrow. Hopefully we got a nice day. Some sunshine would be nice. It's otherwise going to be a really long exposure, and if we can keep something around a minute, that would be cool. We will see. Once we get done with that camera, I've got another little project I'm working on here. Let me turn this a little bit. This is also a Fulmer. This is a Fulmer in Graflex. It's an 8x10 enlarging camera. I've been doing a little work to it. Did some work on the bellows. I've got a couple of film holders here I picked up on eBay. Look at that, loaded up with some HP5 film. I did a test with some paper here a couple weeks ago, and that turned out great. So I know my bellows are light tight. So once we get done with the 4x5 glass plates, we're going to step into this. We're going to do some film on that. I'm really excited about shooting some 8x10. So, well, here we are, back in the mill, and I've got the camera all set up. I'm ready to shoot a glass plate. I've done my exposure. Looks like we're going to run about 16-second exposure. That's going to be an f90. ISO 1.5, somewhere in that neighborhood would be the first exposure. Then I'll probably double that for the second. Here's the setup. If you'll be able to see on the ground glass, but there is an image there. You can see it a lot better under the hood. It's an image of back of the mill. So we're all set up on the tripod, got everything clamped down, good and secure. It's a little windy up here today, which is probably going to move the camera a little bit. So not sure how sharp our images will be, but we're going to give her a shot. We're going to make a couple exposures, and then we're going to run back to the dark room, develop these glass plate negatives, and see what we get. Well, I don't think I would call this a resounding success by any stretch of the imagination, but it was somewhat successful. And I have two negatives here, two glass plate negatives. The first one is very, very, very thin. It's almost, in fact, I don't even think this camera will be able to pick it up. But if you look closely, there is some detail of the mill in the negatives. Very, very faint. The second negative, there's definitely a lot more detail. Still has a lot to be desired. There's a lot of work to do with this process, but I got something, and I guess I'm somewhat pleased at that. So I'm going to let you take a look here and see if you can see this. Now, it's kind of hard to tell. This lighting is not the greatest down here either, but there's definitely an image on this glass plate. You can also see that I didn't do a real good job, a real uniform and consistent job of coating these plates. So I've got some work to do there as well. But we're going to continue this until we get some good negatives. But I think as our first attempt, I'd say it's a success. Well, I guess we would call this a success. There's definitely an image on this plate. Kind of hard to see them. I'll try to block the light so you can get a good look at it. I've got it sitting on some white paper. You can definitely see the image. It's a little thin. If this was a negative, I would say it's definitely too thin. So I'm going to call this a success, but we've still got a little work to do. This, I believe, was an 8-second exposure. Looking at it now, maybe I should have gone 16. Maybe I should have done 8 and 16 instead of 4 and 8. But we will definitely going to continue to try and work with these glass plates. I'm getting a better feel for the silver liquid light and the AGX Plus. As far as coating, I can get a little bit smoother coating than I could when I first started. So all in all, it's a success, and we are going to keep playing with this, and I'm sure eventually we're going to get some pretty awesome images with this big old box camera and these glass plates. So thanks for tuning in. Until next time, happy shooting.